In a so-called free state, officials and stakeholders concoct solutions to problems often created by other bureaucrats and with little regard for infringements on the people. These stories are born at the apex of freedom and entrepreneurship. We foolishly advocate for the taxpayer. Brian's Beat presents Freedom Fools.
Did I hear something about infringement? We'll go down that road tonight. It's Wednesday, midweek. Nice day. Welcome to Freedom Fools on WBSM. Yes, I'm back for Wednesday, and I hope you're having a great Wednesday. It's been a nice day. Nice 3 days, a lot of wind, no humidity. I mean, really, can you argue? It wasn't too long ago we were shivering. Anyway, today being Wednesday and April 30th, it is also Day of the Child. Once again, kids, boys, girls, pets, Day of the Child. It's also Honesty Day. Are you being honest? Honest with yourself? Honest with others? Are some of the main characters in our life, are they being honest? Honesty Day. It is also International Guide Dog Day. Now, dogs are pretty honest. You know, if they hide a bone, they're going to tell you, we hit a bone. National Military Brats Day. I know that there's some older brats, but once again, it's like Day of the Child, Military Brats Day. We're not really thinking about the person that's 25, 30 years old who says to a companion, yeah, I was a military brat. Well, when they were a military brat, they were a kid. Stop Food Waste Day. It was on this day in 1789 that George Washington took the oath of office as the elected President of the United States of America. First person as the United States of America. He was actually, I think, the eighth person that became president of the colonies, but first as President of the United States. 1803. Now, I'm guessing because there was no income tax at this particular time, they must have used tariff dollars, because the U.S. government somehow, some way, got up $15 million and paid that money to France for the Louisiana Purchase. 1803. The celebrations in the United States were rather subdued. However, in Southeast Asia, they were hooting and hollering as the Vietnam War finally came to an end for the folks at Vietnam. In the United States, the official end date is May 7th, 1 week from today. And on this date in 2009, Chrysler, one of the big three, filed for bankruptcy protection. Chrysler no longer exists as Chrysler. Stellantis is the name now. This leads us to the Brian's Beat quote of the day. A dead-end street is a good place to turn around. A dead-end street is a good place to turn around. That quote from Naomi Judd, one of the Judds. Lots of stuff going on today. going to start here, taking us to the other side or south of Wareham, south of Plymouth, to the Bourne and the Sagamore Bridge. Now, every once in a while I go down that far. I went with a woman friend about a month ago, maybe a little bit longer than that, as we took a trip all the way down to Truro. Maybe we went into P-Town. I bring it up because, it might be a waste of gas, but every once in a while it's a nice little ride to go down to the Cape and check out Cape beaches, maybe try to take a look at the Kennedy compound, that kind of stuff. Play dumb tourist. Well, a member of the select board in Mashpee wants to place tolls on those bridges. The new, I guess it would be the new Sagamore and the new Bourne, or whether they ever come to fruition, the old bridges. His idea, his name is David Whedon. He is vice chair of the Mashpee Select Board. His bright idea is to generate a lot of money toward helping Cape Cod communities address the lack of infrastructure. He says we're all facing it. We're all recognizing the environment needs help. Here we go again with that environment. Apparently, there are about 35 million cars that cross those two bridges annually. And so if you put a $2 toll, Whedon figures, well, you can get about $70 million bucks. And that's not including what happens with trucks. You know what I say? Go ahead. Go ahead and put tolls on those bridges. Not that I want tolls, but, I will limit the number of times that I will go over to Cape Cod. And here's something else that I think will happen. I think you will find more people that do, those little day excursions will do the same thing. Why pay the toll? Unless you really want to. And then if you really want to, or you don't give a rat's you know what, then you're going to do it. Here's the other thing I believe. I believe folks that are coming from New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, New Hampshire, they're going to take fewer trips to the Cape during the summer. And they might look at the area from Westport to Wareham as a new vacation spot. And by the way, there are a lot of great places. You know what I'm talking about over by Horseneck Beach and in Mattapoisoi and Marion, Dartmouth, even New Bedford. There are places where people come for a week vacation. And if I were in the promoting business, which I guess I am a little bit, but for these cities and towns, I would be out there trying to say, hey, look, why go over to the Cape? You're going to pay more money on Cape Cod. Plus, you're going to pay money to go over to Cape Cod. Why not try one of our communities? Chamber of Commerce, they call themselves South Coast Chamber. This would be prime for them. South Coast Chamber goes from Fall River, and I think they're trying to pick up Wareham if they haven't already. But there's a lot of territory, and I would be hopping up and down on trying to say, hey, yeah, let them do the toll. Let them do that toll, and we will reap as much of that benefit as we can. And speaking of reaping a benefit, there is also the talk of building out in New Bedford. La France Hospitality. You may know them as Bittersweet Farm. You may know them as the Galley Grill. You may know them as Merrill's. They also run a couple of hotels around here. They want to build another one. They want to build a hotel right down the street from the new Whales Tooth MBTA station. Pretty good location. Right there is a bunch of tires. They want to build on that property. There's a meeting coming up on May 14th to further discuss with the planning board or planning commission. But they're really looking to do it up. They want 140 rooms and suites, combination of that. They want to add a restaurant with a bar, a patio, a meeting room, swimming pool, movie stars. It's going to be 5 stories. That's if they get the go-ahead. My guess is LaFrance, they have a pretty good idea of the city of New Bedford and how to do projects like this, that they'll get the green light. But my question to you would be, does New Bedford really need another hotel? Now, why do I ask? Well, I drive by the downtown hotel. I drive by the Fairfield Inn and Suites, which is the one across from Homer's Wharf. I drive by the Hotel Motel up on Hathaway. Rarely do I see them sold out. No vacancy. And so I'm wondering about the real need here. If I'm LaFrance, I'm already operating a hotel that, does okay. Why do I want to build another one? For okayness? So that's my thought to that. And then, of course, we have to add in the fact that what else is going on in the city? Another homicide. I know the numbers are down, but those are paper numbers. If you're in that south end of New Bedford going down to Acushnet Avenue, and you're, by Russell, by Griffin Court, there's a lot of activity. Monty's Park is right around that area, too. There's a lot of activity, and not all of it is great. All right, let's hear from you, 508-996-0500. Hello, you're first up today.
Hello, Brian.
Hello, Brian.
How are you? Not another penny in tolls, Brian. Not at 1 penny. Look at the mess. Look at the train, okay? We had 30 years to plan the train, and they still can't figure a way to hire enough people to run it. Still, to this day, 30 years they've been planning that. So I don't want to give them another dime, not another penny. Sorry. I think you're wrong.
Well, it's not what I think. I'm saying let them go. It's them. It's not us. If they want to do it, let them do it.
Yeah, but it hurts us. We're the ones paying, and we're the ones that they'll be hiring all kinds of hacks to run it, and then we'll be left paying pensions and the same stuff that goes on every time. So nothing shouldn't be told. Sorry.
No tolls. Don't have to be sorry to me. I hear you.
Okay.
All right, man. Thanks for the call.
Look, just
real
quick.
Yeah.
Absolutely. The city should be bending over backwards and kissing what they need to get them in there. And anybody else who wants to come in the city and put something in like that. We don't have a lot of people beat down the door to do stuff in New Bedford. So open arms, baby. That's what we need.
But do we need another hotel?
We need another 3 or 4 hotels.
Really?
5 hotels.
If we don't have people, we don't have that. The occupancy isn't there.
Oh, I think the occupancy is. Go look at the rates. They're $200 and $300 a night.
Well, maybe that's why people. But you can look at the rates all you want. But what about people that are staying there? They're not staying.
So what's the occupancy rate like at the new one they built down there?
The new one, I don't know what it is, but I know that it's always open.
Well, of course, it's a hotel.
No, what I mean by always open, I mean there are rooms available.
Well, but what amount of rooms available? I mean, how many hotels are sold out every night of the week? They're not.
Well,
I there's a certain number that
to your point. If you're not sold out, why build another one that's not going to be sold out?
because maybe the one they build will be better quality, will offer more amenities, nicer rooms, and that will make the old one that isn't selling rooms improve their game.
Yeah. All right, man.
Competition.
Hey, listen,
Right.
maybe. I appreciate the call. Competition. Yeah, there's something to that. I don't know how well that's going to work. Let's take another one here. Thank you. Hello.
Isn't the old adage, if you build it, they will come?
Yeah, but we know that doesn't work.
Or is that just the movie?
I think it was a good movie. And sometimes if you build it, they come. If you build a McDonald's, people go. If you build a Chipotle, they don't always go.
Well, when they built that field in the middle of Iowa, the farmer that owned most of the field, like 90% of it, they had to use another farmer's land for the other 10% to make the rest of the site. And those two ended up arguing and practically killing each other. So I guess it's not worth doing.
Well, but, Max Yasgur decided to let the folks do Woodstock, but that was a one-time event, and it drew a lot of people. I don't know that you could do a Woodstock every day and expect to get a turnout of 300 people.
Well, maybe if you put the other hotels in, we could call it Fish Stock for New Bedford. And we could.
Okay, Fish Stock.
I was also going to say that they should write the agreement for the $2. If they're going to do it, I'll say, okay, let's do the $2 across the bridge. But you give me a credit if there's a backup of traffic. I want $4 back if there's traffic, because you're not gaining anything with the $2. I would pay them a lot more money for every trip across if they just bulldoze that rotary out, because the rotary is what kills the traffic going across the bridge. You come to the bottom of the bridge and you got to look left and right and wait for people to make decisions. Bulldoze it out, have no exits until you get about 3 miles onto the Cape, and then let people backtrack. And that would solve a lot of that traffic.
So you're talking about the rotary once you cross the Bourne Bridge, right there where there's a seafood place,
yes.
And it used to be a Bickford's, and then a IHOP.
Yep. Yeah. If you come off that bridge, that's the backup problem. Everyone's in the rotary trying to get around, and it's great if you had a Model A or if you had a horse and a buggy. You could gauge the speed, but that's it's a super bad place for a rotary. They just bulldoze that out. You have no exits there. Go about 3 miles up and start peeling exits off, and people can backtrack to get to wherever they're going in the town there. But anyway,
well, that's why Dunkin' Donuts is there now. That's people are going to stop anyway.
Yeah. Well, anyway, Fish Stock. I think that's the way to go. Let's put some hotels in and we'll do Fish Stock.
All right. So. Hey, thanks for the call.
All right.
I do appreciate it. See you later. 508-996-0500. Hello.
Hi.
No,
Good evening.
You always ask me that.
Hello. No, I caught myself as soon as I said it, Brian.
Go ahead.
Hello. Oh, you had to give me the sound effect?
Yes.
Okay, Hollywood's looking for you.
Again?
I love Steve and everything he says, but if we're going to do all that, we might as well just have tolls. From what he's just saying, the way he's trying to describe all that. And listen, the hotel on Union Street, okay, it's no wonder it's done, and it's already filled. The apartments on Union Street are already filled. I worked for that company, and it doesn't surprise me that they're filled. They weren't meant for us anyways. And the hotel on the waterfront, go to the Marriott in Wareham. Nobody's going to stay at the one on the waterfront. Those rooms aren't as good as the ones in Marriott. That's the suite. But with the apartments that are filled already, because you've got that kind of money. The mayor even said today that all of those are already filled. Of course they are. Because
they're two different things. We're not talking about apartments. We're talking about, does New Bedford really need another hotel?
Well, no, but what I'm trying to say to you is the other hotel is what was built on Union Street, and it's already filled. It's not filled. Geez, I don't want to say too much.
Slow down.
Yeah, I don't want to say too much because I work for the corporation, and I know, I just don't think anybody really realizes those are already filled because those are going to be the suites when somebody comes.
I guess I need you to be clear. What is filled?
The Union Street apartments.
Okay, but what does that have to do with the hotel?
Because the man that helped the mayor, he forwarded all that money, and that's why it's already filled.
Okay, I'm hearing what you're saying. I'm hearing what you're saying, but I'm not putting the piece together about the downtown hotel or the waterfront hotel, and then this new hotel being proposed by the Whales Tooth parking lot.
Okay, so who wants to do that new hotel?
LaFrance.
Wait, who just built those apartments at the end of Union Street?
Okay, now that's
Mr. LaFrance.
Oh, okay, I'm not arguing whether LaFrance can do the job. I think that they can do the job.
Did it.
But
those apartments that are filled on Union Street.
Does the city need another hotel?
I'm thinking they probably will because the more Mr. LaFrance can get executives into these type of buildings, it won't be so much as like hotel tourists that's already there, that hotel. What that will be, like this one that is already filled, is for executives. It's him. He bought it. He built it. He helped the city, but it's him that's already got those rooms occupied. They're executive suites. They're for business. Believe me.
I'm missing it because I don't know what is filled. Because the hotels aren't filled.
Union Street. No, but the Okay,
but there's a difference between an apartment where people live for rent or they're rented out.
Those apartments are not meant for us. That's why they're already filled. I would love for you to please prove me wrong. Do an investigative reporting. Find out who's already rented that Union Street, LaFrance's building that he built with the mayor. And
so are you trying to say that the people that are in those apartments will then move to one of the hotels?
Nope. I'm saying that that it's already. Oh God, It's already it's executive suites. It's for people that Mr. LaFrance business, big wigs, that when they come, they don't need to stay at that crappy hotel that Mr. LaFrance once was a great thing to look at, which is now an eyesore. You go in the rooms, they're trashy. I worked for Mr. LaFrance, so I'm saying what I'm saying.
You are saying what you're saying, that's for sure.
Yes. Yes.
I'm just, maybe somebody else is following.
Right, you're not following me. Nobody's renting those. Those are not rented by regular laymen. I guarantee you.
I'm not arguing who is renting them. What I'm trying to find out is who is going to want to stay at a third hotel in the city of New Bedford.
There won't be a third hotel. This is what I'm trying to tell you. There won't be a third hotel. The next third hotel will be just like this mini executive suite apartments that they built. Mr. LaFrance built executive suites. Those, honestly, are not.
Then why are we calling it a hotel?
Wait, exactly. That's what I'm trying to tell you. There's so much.
So what is not going to be a hotel? Is the new hotel not going to be a hotel, or is one of the ones downtown not going to be a hotel?
It will be like another executive suite. It will not be another hotel. Mr. LaFrance has no desire to build another. There is not enough tourists in this city to fill another hotel all year round.
Gotcha. There you go. I appreciate
it. It will be an executive suite.
It will be for business people who come into town. Now I get it. I got you. Thank you. All right. Whew. I got it. You got it? Let's do one more. Hello.
Tough act to follow.
Who?
That's a tough act to follow.
Well, you'll do your best.
Hey, Brian, I got a question for you.
Try my best.
I heard you a little while ago when you were saying your lady friend. At what age do you go from girlfriend to lady friend?
Woman friend. And so my guess is sometime 25 plus, at least in my book. Because if I come up from an era that if you called a woman a girl, all of a sudden you're getting dirty looks and how dare you, and next thing you know, that you could be slapped with some type of suit and have to go to court. You called her a girl. You know what I mean?
I know what you mean, Brian.
So I don't want to go down that road.
Good man. Take care.
She's woman friend. Hey, you too. I appreciate it. 508-996-0500. So, I guess the new hotel won't be a hotel, or it will be a hotel, and one of the present hotels won't be a hotel. Whatever LaFrance is thinking about building by the Whale's Tooth parking lot, it is supposed to be a mix of 140 rooms and suites. It will have a restaurant and bar with a patio. Wonder what that patio is going to be like in the wintertime. Meeting room, swimming pool, 5 stories high. Nice landscaping. I don't know how much the landscaping matters during the wintertime around here. $25 million. Hey, I think LaFrance will get the opportunity to pull this off. But I go back to my original thought. Do we really need another hotel? And even if it's for executives coming in, why are executives coming into New Bedford if we don't get tourists coming into New Bedford? What's the grand scheme? If, taking it for granted that she was right, what's the grand scheme? And then, of course, we've got the story out of the South End last night, Griffin Court area, where a 19-year-old man shot to death inside a car. Why? I don't know. I don't even know if we have a name to the victim. The vehicle was also found to have multiple projectile strikes, according to Frank Mulligan in the Standard Times. Victim was transported to St. Luke's, where he died a short time later. The usual folks, district attorney's office, state police detectives, they're all, and even New Bedford, are out there trying to figure it out. I remember when my friend Donald, the cab driver, was gunned down up at Brooklawn Park. And I don't know if they're the same people, but the same kind of cast of characters. They were all, huddling around and trying to figure it out, asking questions. There were 2 drivers, myself and another driver. The other driver, actually, she found Donald DePina shot, and she called it in, and the dispatcher sent me over because she was by herself, and there were a lot of police type folk over there. And so we, I don't know if you've ever seen detectives, police officers. These guys, they had tape, chalk, all kinds of stuff. Boom, 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 boom. Pardon the noise. But they had a good idea. They asked us a couple of questions. Next thing you know, they're over at the cab company. They're going through tape and stuff like that. They pounced down on these guys, these kids. They were kids. Pounced down on them so quickly you would not believe it. 2 days later. Of course, these kids weren't exactly the brightest bulb in the pack. They're up on Facebook, talking about the stuff that they did. I say Facebook, social media, talking about the stuff that they did. I think they caught them at one of the hotels around here. 508-996-0500. And then there's President Trump speaking out again. Yeah, I'm going to get into that repartee between Terry Moran of ABC News and President Trump. Maybe you saw some of it on the TV, but I do want to let you know that a woman has died after a car commuter rail crash. Saw a bit of the picture on TV. Does not look nice. Not at all. And to a caller who tried to get through earlier, just to let you know, the idea for the new La France Hotel, I call it La France, that's going to be the parent company. No idea if it's going to be a Marriott or Fairfield Inn and Suites type deal. I don't know that part yet. Hampton Inn. But it's going to be at 1 Pearl Street. Pearl Street ends on the Acushnet Ave stretch that runs by the railroad tracks, by the Whale's Tooth parking lot, and on the ocean side of the 18 highway. Right now, it's an area that is some type of tire place. I'm not sure what they do there. It does have a bad smell to it every once in a while when I drive by it, but it's just a lot of tires there. And so I guess La France has gotten up the money. They're going to do whatever remediation of the area and try to fix it up. Again, if they get the okay from the planning board, and who's to think that the planning board's going to say no? So a couple of weeks ago, you may recall President Trump spoke into the microphone and he looked directly into the TV camera and told you, and he told me, that he could not get Kilmar Abrego Garcia back from El Salvador. He said it numerous times. President Bukele of El Salvador stated he didn't have the power to release Garcia, and if he did, he was going to let a terrorist and sneak him into the United States. Well, a few weeks later, and with his approval ratings looking pretty dismal, in fact, snowballing like an avalanche, President Trump tries to blowtorch the snow.
This is not an innocent, wonderful gentleman from Maryland.
I'm not saying he's a good guy. It's about the rule of law. The order from the Supreme Court stands,
Came into our country illegally.
You could get him back. There's a phone on this desk.
I could.
You could pick it up, and with all the power of the presidency, you could call up the president of El Salvador and say, send him back right now.
And if he were the gentleman that you say he is, I would do that.
But the court has
he's
ordered
not.
you to facilitate that.
I'm not the one making this decision. We have lawyers that don't want to do this.
But the buck stops in this office.
No. I follow the law. You want me to follow the law? If I were the president that just wanted to do anything, I'd probably keep him right where he is.
Wow. That's the president of the United States trying to say he doesn't have the power. He's got lawyers trying to say that he follows the law. Sounds to me he's following maybe his lawyers, but he's not following the law because the Supreme Court is the highest court in the land. So let me ask you, do you agree the president is defying the highest court of the land, or it's okay for President Trump to overrule the Supreme Court? What are your thoughts here? Whether you think this guy should be brought back or not, the president clearly is defying the U.S. Supreme Court. Is that okay? Or do you think, well, you agree with the president, but in this particular case, the court has made its decision? What's your thought process here? By the way, Terry Moran, I got to hand it to Terry Moran. He got the president to basically say, yes, he could pick up the phone and that he could try to get the guy back, but he won't do it. Supreme Court said that you had to facilitate it, and then it gave it back to a lower court who has stated the same thing. I am not an attorney, but I can tell you, if I am the attorneys representing Kilmar Abrego Garcia, I am getting the transcript plus the audio and video, and I'm presenting that in court because the president has just damned himself. In my book, like I said, I'm not an attorney, but the president has pretty much put his foot, well, where he likes to put it anyway. So you ought to hear what else he said during this interview. Maybe you did, but let's check this out.
Even the man that you picked out, he said he wasn't a member of a gang. And then they looked, and on his knuckles, he had MS-13.
There's a dispute.
But wait a minute. He had MS-13 on his knuckles tattooed.
He had some tattoos that are interpreted that way. But let's move on.
Wait a minute. Hey, Terry.
He did not have the letter MS-13.
It says MS-13.
That was Photoshopped. So let me
That was Photoshopped. Terry, you can't do that. Hey, they're giving you the big break of a lifetime. You're doing the interview. I picked you because, frankly, I never heard of you, but that's okay. I picked you, Terry, but you're not being very nice.
Terry's not being very nice. Whatever you think of ABC News, and I have many thoughts about ABC News myself, Terry Moran is doing his job, and he's doing it very, very well. And the president, I don't know if the president knows if the MS-13 was photoshopped or not. But you know what? There are experts who can tell if indeed that MS-13 was photoshopped on there. And again, my guess, ABC News and Terry Moran, he's not going to stick his neck out there and say it was photoshopped if he doesn't know for sure that it was indeed photoshopped. Because, and photoshopped it's kind of like Kleenex. It doesn't have to be done by Photoshop or Adobe. It could be done by some other company. But the fact of the matter is, MS-13 seems to be planted on this guy's fingers and then sent out there for all to see. Now, Terry Moran and I, we don't know each other, but we are in agreement here. I don't know how innocent Kilmar Abrego Garcia is, but I do know that it is up to, in this particular case, the Department of Justice to prove his guilt. Now, because this is immigration court, you don't have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt. But the order is to bring this guy back and put him through the due diligence process. It doesn't mean that he won't be legally deported out of here. But what the court, whether you're talking a lower court or the U.S. Supreme Court, what they have ruled is he needs to have a due process, whether or not he came in here illegally or not. 508-996-0500. Thank you. Hello.
Hey, Brian.
Hey, Brian.
Isn't that the same man that the two presidents were sitting in the same room?
Yes.
And they talked about. I mean, how foolish is that they couldn't release this guy right then? I mean, that right there that started out as stupid.
Well,
you know what I'm saying?
Started out as stupid, but what we are finding out that you were lied to. I was lied to. Lied to by President Trump. Lied to by President Bukele. Bukele said he didn't have the power, yet this guy was moved from a notorious prison to another prison. And President Trump admitted in that interview with Terry Moran, the 100-day interview, that he indeed could pick up the phone and make a phone call to get this guy back.
Well, but you see, the whole thing right here now is Trump is just blowing horns about getting people out of the country, keeping people out of the country, getting these people out. That's the only thing he's got to do, because he's not doing nothing for the economy. I don't care what any of these people say. He is not. I mean, so
any of what people? I'm sorry. Any of what people?
The people that call in the afternoon that call that other guy, that man that you can't say anything about Trump about. I'll give you this. You are one of the fairest people on this, one of the fairest people on the radio.
Are you talking about my skin color?
No. No, not at all. I mean, you know what I'm saying.
I'm constitutional. I don't know how fair that is, but
well, at least you listen. I mean, you can't get anything else in on the other way.
Let's not talk about other shows.
All right, you're right. Well, what I'm saying is this guy should have been cut loose already and sent back home. I mean, even the wife, or whatever he did with her, or whatever, she's willing to have him back, right?
Yeah, look, and it might be short-lived because he can be deported. They might prove that he is in a gang. I don't know. But he does deserve that day in court. Whether he came in here legally or not, he's here or was here. And that's what the courts, that's what the highest court in the land, that's not just what Brian is saying.
No, and so who is he to... I don't know how he can get in front of any of these courts and stop these people from doing anything. How can he do this? I don't care if he's president or what he is. Well,
I think what Donald Trump is causing here is a constitutional showdown. I don't want to say it's a crisis just yet, but it's definitely a showdown.
Yeah, showdown.
What are we going to do about it?
I don't know. I wish something. I don't want to say what I wish would happen with the guy, but with Trump. But
yeah, you probably shouldn't.
I'm going to say that. Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for listening, and
thanks
have
for calling.
A good night.
I do appreciate it. 508-996-0500. Think whatever you want. In my brain, this president is definitely setting up and causing a constitutional showdown. I hope it does not become a crisis, but every day we seem to inch closer and closer and closer. He's defying the U.S. Supreme Court, and he is admitting, once again, he's already guilty of lying, but now he's admitting that he could pick up the phone and make that phone call to get the guy back, but he just won't do it. For those who believe President Trump has a voter mandate to do something about illegal immigration, you're right. There's no doubt about it. However, President Trump does not have an electoral mandate to violate the Constitution. 65 in Wareham, 71 in Fall River, 70 in New Bedford. Adios until tomorrow, 6 p.m.
Traveling around from town to town. Sometimes I think I'll settle down, but I know I'd hunger to be free. Roving the only life for me, a-drifting